Hi, this is Jonathan Rosenhead, the Jerusalem psychotherapist. This week's Torah and Psychology post of Parshas Noach is titled The Trauma of Dishonesty. In this week's Parsha, we have two cases that we read about of the Mabul and the Haflaga, the flood which destroyed the world, and also the Haflaga, the Migdal Bavel, which destroyed the people that were involved in this case. And the Gemara in Bava Metzia teaches us that if a person does not keep their word, then they will be punished. There's a curse of Misha Para. And the text of the curse says that just as the Hashem that punished the people, the generation of the Mabul and the Haflaga, and Sodom, Amorah, and Mitzrayim, so too Hashem will punish someone that does not keep their word. And the Tosfos Rosh explains the text of this curse. That says that all these cases relate to situations of not keeping your word. And therefore we see this severity of dishonesty and the importance and the importance of integrity in one's life. So let's see what psychology has to say about this. First of all, we'll start with integrity and the definition of integrity. Integrity, from the Latin word, means wholeness or not being divided. And we should keep this in mind, this idea of wholeness and not being divided, as we go on to discuss the idea of trauma, or the trauma of dishonesty. But the research continues and says that integrity, as a definition, is basically being true to your word, keeping your word. And the advantages, both on an individual level and an organizational level, is that there is a person presents themselves, or there is unambiguous presentation of oneself, and this will lead to superior performance and also a competitive advantage, again on an individual level and also on an organizational level. And the research then goes on to say that integrity ensures keeping basic principles of life, of morality, of ethics, of loyalty and trust. And this, on a psychological level, will lead to increased self-efficacy, self-belief, self-confidence. That person is honest to themselves, and by being honest to oneself, it ensures that they present themselves in an unambiguous way, and this is reflected in reality, in their external reality, that they are honest to themselves, and that is how they present themselves in the world. But if a person is not honest to themselves and they're not able to keep this value of integrity, then there is a lack of wholeness. There is a split. And this relates to trauma, because the research suggests that when a person is not able to keep this value of integrity, it's because there's a certain pain. There's a certain pain that they are trying to avoid. They don't want to say something, or they don't want to do something, which might lead them to being dishonest. They need to be dishonest in order to avoid this pain. In a way, it's a survival mechanism that is triggered. But it's at a cost, because when a person does not keep this value of integrity, as we said, it creates a schism. They become divided, because there's no longer this equilibrium between their internal honesty and trust, that they are honest to themselves, and that's how they present themselves in their world. There's no longer this equilibrium, and therefore the schism creates a divide also in their external reality, that the person presents himself in different ways and in different situations. And as we said, therefore, there is this division, there's this split, this internal split, and external split is also represented in their external world. And this relates to some of the theory in trauma as well. There's a prominent researcher in trauma, Professor Onno van der Hart, which discusses the idea of dissociation. That a person experiences trauma, particularly in abuse or neglect in childhood. In order to survive this trauma, there's a survival mechanism. That person splits into multiple personalities. There's a dissociation into multiple sub-personalities. And this is a way in order to be able to cope, because the person themselves, their united individual single personality, cannot cope with this trauma, and therefore they have to split into multiple different personalities. As we said, it's a coping mechanism, and the therapy in complex trauma tries to return the person to their wholeness, to integrate these multiple personalities, these sub-personalities. Rather than there being further dissociation, they want to create a wholeness, to remove this division and split. And therefore we can see this connection between the trauma of dishonesty and how it creates this internal split and this division in the external reality, and how this can be seen as dissociation. In a way, this relates to the trauma in the theory of dissociation in trauma therapy. So hopefully what will happen in time, a person will practice integrity, practice being honest, and slowly the split will be healed, and a person will return to the state of wholeness. As the trauma of dishonesty passes, as the storm calms down, there'll be a sense of peace and wholeness again that will be returned to the person's personality, and the person will be able to hopefully live their life keeping to this level of integrity. As we can see the psychological benefits of integrity, and avoiding any punishment or the curse that we learn from the Gemara in Bava Metzia. So I wish you a good Shabbos and keep well.